virus made its way to the United States with a confirmed case.
There's currently no vaccine
This
outbreak,
country
but
will
headline
economy
news
going
team
wrong place.
All over the world, we've seen a
Around the world in 2020. One word made everything stand still. Lockdown. We know the story of COVID, but not the people it affected. This is their voice and their story.
Hello, my name is Jake Harrison. I'm standing in the rain, and this is a very, very short poem for you. It's called Another Day Dawning. Enjoy. As we wake up each day, another grey morning. We're tired, we're fighting the pain, we're still yawning. Oh no, guess what? More bad news on the TV. It's so bad and bleak, but don't worry, keep believing that one day we'll be out there together, me and you. We'll fight this COVID, we'll beat the blues. So keep going, stay sane, and keep on believing that one day me and you, yes, we'll all be achieving. Cheers.
Hi there, my name's Nicole, I'm 18 and I'm from London, England. Lockdown as a result of COVID, for me, has had a number of effects. Because we're on our third lockdown, I don't really know which one to start with first, so I'm just going to go back to the top. So, March last year, when the first national lockdown was announced, I was in year 13 at the time. And, you know, as many other students nationwide, we had to resort to online means to do school. And after about 2-3 weeks of failed teaching online, DFE then tell us that our national exams are cancelled. Now, I was at a point where I just really wanted to give up doing school altogether. And I was kind of thinking of it more as a relief for me, because I began getting really stressed and depressed over all of the assignments and the contributions in class and everything. Reasonably, for many of my friends, it was also frustrating knowing that after all the hard work and the extra hours that they put in, they're not doing these exams which are meant to help them go on to the next stage. Months later, around June time, it kind of exacerbated the complications that my mother had while she was giving birth to my now 7-month-old baby brother. I think one thing I'm thankful for is technology, because if it wasn't for that, if we weren't able to, you know, video call our mother to see how she's doing, to see the baby as soon as he was physically able to cope by himself, then I think it would have been a lot more emotionally draining, stressful, and things of the such. Now, the second lockdown actually stopped me from starting work earlier. I just, about a week before Boris announced the lockdown, I had just done an interview for a job and I got the job. But I had to start in December because of the lockdown, the second lockdown. And as well as that, I wasn't at home. I was staying at a relative's place, which was a little bit difficult for me to kind of get to grips with not physically being around my family or around familiar things. And now on the third lockdown. So the third lockdown has had quite an impact on, more so on my siblings, who are now having to go back to doing school online, which, you know, after for a short period of time being able to physically see their friends at school and things, they're having to now quickly adjust themselves into this, you know, new way of learning. As of myself, unfortunately, I'm no longer able to go to work as usual. And, you know, whilst this is kind of a very uncertain, sad period for me, I also like to see things on the bright side. I'm that type of person which is like, you know, I'm no longer able to do this, but now I have more time to do so, so, and so. I've, since the beginning of the third lockdown, released a song which I'm really happy with, and I've also gotten back into writing, back into making more videos for my channel, and also just being a positive, or rather an optimistic influence on myself, my family, my friends, and the many people that I come across.
So what does coronavirus mean to me, and how has it affected me? Personally, on a personal level, it's shaken everything that we knew, held close to, and even believed in to a degree. That everything is taken for granted. I think that's been very evident through this third lockdown that we're experiencing. I guess if you'd have asked me at the beginning how long it would have lasted, I may have said a few months, 6 months at the most, and I'm sure, you know, a vaccine would have come out and been found, or we would have got through it. But here we are almost a year on, and all what's gone on with that. For my background and if you like, my vocation in life, I'm a Baptist minister. So what does that mean in terms of my faith and in terms of the church? Well, for me, church is about the body of people. It's not about a building. Others may disagree with that, and that's absolutely fine. But for me, in a faith aspect, is that we have hope in hopeless situations, and we have light in the darkness. That is my faith. That is my belief in Jesus Christ. Does it exclude people? Not in my book, it doesn't. Not in Scripture, it doesn't. It's about for all without exception, and however people interpretate that. But for me, nobody should be excluded. Everyone is included and is therefore wanted to be included within that love of Jesus Christ. I think what this has done in terms of the church building is it's forced people out of there by having to close down. Again, that's caused a lot of upset because in Scripture it says that we should continuously meet together in all circumstances. Coronavirus wasn't around in biblical times as it is today, but yet that doesn't stop us from meeting. However, I think it's drawn us closer and stronger together. So there's many more positives, I would say, that have come out of this rather than people dwelling upon the negatives. I mean, for those, for instance, that say it doesn't exist, let me put you in touch with some of the families that have done the numerous funerals over this last year for, and you try and tell them that this doesn't exist when they've lost their loved ones, or the countless other tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands that have lost their lives to it. So it's affected us and it's shaped us all in many different ways. But I think we'll come through stronger. I don't think we should have a snapback attitude to go back to the way things were. I think this is a real opportunity, certainly for me within my faith and within the church, to go forward in a different way. Not completely changing everything, but having the opportunity to make some changes and not just snap back to the way things were. Interestingly enough, again, at the beginning, many surveys were brought out, and it said that there was something like a 24% increase in people coming to faith or searching about faith and prayer on the internet. Certainly in my context and in my location, that is certainly the case. We've seen an increased number in people watching our online services, which is absolutely amazing. But I think out of all of this, it's deepened an understanding that we are vulnerable and life is fragile, whichever way we want to look at it. And that brings about more anxiety for people when things are taken out of their control and they can no longer choose to do things or control the way things happen, and that's taken from them. It brings about more anxiety. And certainly a thing that I looked into once before, a Harvard business study reported about anticipatory grief, the grief you face and when you fixate on things that have not yet happened. It happens all the time. We can daydream and we can conjure up dreams or conversations in our own way of things that haven't happened. And it's often that we dwell on them, and it's the anticipatory grief that has brought about that. I think what's important right now for us as we go forward day by day is maybe day by day. For some people, it's hour by hour. Let's just take a step at a time and see where that takes us and how we go tenderly forward. But that we do continue to go forward, and we go forward together. Here's a real opportunity to unite together in whatever way, faith or no faith, but just in our humanness. And together we will get through it. Together we will overcome this and move forward, and I'm sure be all the stronger for it.
Lockdown for me has kind of been this up and down battle. At the start of the pandemic, when the UK had its first lockdown, it really didn't affect me. I'd been learning online for 5 years before that, so I was used to online stuff, and I thought, great, I've been doing this for years, and finally, like, everyone's kind of doing what I'm doing, and it was kind of almost a relief. I felt like I could thrive in the situation. But as the pandemic has kind of gone on, and there's been another lockdown and then another lockdown, it's got a lot worse. Like, I've had mental health problems previous to the pandemic starting, and it's been going on for around 10 years. And my mental health at the start of the pandemic, absolutely fine. Probably the best I've been, but that was due to other circumstances as well. And then since, the whole thing has kind of really affected my mental health again, and it's kind of got to the point where I'm now looking for extra help and support, because it is really difficult, it's really tough, and I really feel for the people out there who may not have access to some support. For me, I've tried my best to kind of thrive, kind of like be proactive in the pandemic. So at the start of the very start of the pandemic, I was kind of lost. I hadn't worked for a couple of years due to health reasons, and I tried to get my hand into some like volunteering work and trying to help people, and that went really well last year. I did a lot of volunteering for different charities and companies. And then this year I decided to set up my own kind of charity company organisation that is targeted at young students between the ages of 16 to 21 who have come from disadvantaged backgrounds, who have had disruption to their education. So this includes anyone who has been affected by the pandemic and COVID as a whole, which is everyone at the moment. So we're just trying to set up mentoring schemes and workshops and ways to be proactive in the community, in the real world, so that they can get the experience they need, because it's access to experience that students really need right now. So my pandemic's been a bit all over the place. Mostly good, actually, really, which is kind of surprising, but yeah.
I'm here to talk about how COVID has affected my life over the last 11 months. Well, it doesn't help that I've got severe anxiety and depression. And at the start, I was more in shell shock of everything that was going on. I'm a singer and a music teacher. And so when it first happened and all our gigs were cancelled and like school stopped having peri teachers in, it did negatively impact my state of mind. And I'll be openly honest, since COVID began, or since the UK started reacting to the threat of COVID, I've thought about suicide a number of times over the last 11 months. However, my faith in God is way too strong to ever think about taking something that was given to me by God. So I think that's the thing that's been keeping me going, is my faith in God. But in terms of how it's affected my colleagues and my friends, you know, it's affected a lot of my friends who are musicians really badly. It's affected a lot of my colleagues as well, negatively. You know, some of my friends and my colleagues that do shows, all their shows have got cancelled, and just Amdram. You know, that was the one thing that I found, as well as doing like singing and playing, which is my form of music therapy. But because I teach for a job and I teach music, sometimes singing myself a song doesn't have the same impact as being in a show and playing a character. And I miss that. I miss the rehearsal. I miss the drive of being a different character and adopting that. And just the fact that, like, people are just being, like, we need to be better as humans. And what the crisis has shown is that we've got a small minority of humans who have the means of power and production and control, but they won't give it up to help everyone. And that is something that I find really astonishing. But there again, we are under a Conservative government who don't really care about anyone but their own rich elite. So you can't really, yeah, I'm not really surprised. But at the same time, you know, there's teachers being demonised. And it's like, do you know how hard it is to be a teacher? If you don't, keep your mouth shut. Because it's always those people that don't know how hard our jobs are that are the first to criticise us. So, yeah, all the people that are health secretary, education secretary, why don't we get people who actually know what the job entails? Don't just give your mate this role of, oh yeah, you're the home secretary. Have you worked in transport? Have you worked globally with other countries? Well, no then. Don't be the Home Secretary. Have you worked in education? Well, don't make you the Home Secretary. If you worked in the NHS, don't make you the Health Secretary. This would have solved so many problems from the get-go. So the political system has to change. It shouldn't be about the 1%. It should be about the majority. You know, the greater number of people outweighs the few. And I've said that quote wrong, I know, but I don't really care. So, yeah, COVID to me is, I believe it was a chance for us as humans to have a rest and to let the world recover. And instead, we just thought, well, we need to come up with a vaccine really, really quickly so that, well, obviously, because we don't want people to die. But at the same time, why are you forcing people to go back to work? Why are you forcing businesses to stay open? It baffles me. It really does baffle me. So I think for us to really get through this with a really solid outcome, we need to be better human beings and just treat each other as we would want to be treated. Love thy neighbour. It was one of the things that God said. Love thy neighbour. And that's how I try and live my life, is that I try and treat somebody else the way that I want to be treated. So I'm sending blessings to everyone who's working really hard out there on the front lines, to any of those individuals that have lost loved ones to COVID, to anyone who has COVID at the moment. You know, just peace, and let's be better humans.
When looking back at the first lockdown, about what we all went through, it's very dark, because we were thrown into the deep end, essentially, with the government telling us that we were going into a national lockdown, which lasted for just around 6 months. It was a very hard routine to get a hold of, because you wake up and you expect to go to school, or you expect to go to college or university, and that suddenly changes and no one is prepared for it. That's why it was so hard to get back into a routine of keeping up with education. More importantly, the social aspect was the worst part as well, because obviously lockdown means you're in your house or you're very limited to what you can do. Yeah, the lockdown had a toll on many families, not just individual people, but groups of people. Not many people were listening to the masks rule at first, which was very, very scary. People still don't at some points, and for my family to have to worry about that is very, very disconcerting. I think in this new lockdown, though, we'll be more prepared, and we'll rely on the government much less than we would have done in the first one. For me personally, the help of new friends that I've made during the course of the first lockdown, it's helped me to interact better as a person, made me more confident. That one of those people was Billy, and Billy was there for me a lot when I needed that person there, as well as many other people. And I'll be forever grateful for that, because it's made me more prepared, more calmer, just a more chilled out person. And I wouldn't be like that if I didn't have those people there, and I can't thank them enough.
During lockdown, I spent in hospital. I spent 13 weeks in hospital. I was rushed in on the 24th of August with pneumonia. I had constant head pain and a numb face. Now, after 2 weeks, when my pneumonia was gone, I was told to go home. I said, I'm not going home. I was sent to the ophthalmology in York, and he had to go get a doctor. I was on the verge of going blind. I was on the verge of losing my eyesight. So on the 9th of September, on my birthday, I was rushed to Hull Royal, where I awaited 3 brain surgeries. I have a shunt fitted, which intracranial hypertension is fluid on your brain which is blocked, which causes pressure behind your eyes. So now I have a shunt there, which drains the fluid now. The caries malformation caused my numb face, and I had my brain open, my skull opened up, my brain was pushed up, and I had muscles taken away. It was absolutely horrendous, but I had no time to be scared in hospital. I met so many friends, and I also, this time last year, I had depression and anxiety. I was 17 stone, I've lost 8 stone, I keep fit, I have no anxiety issues. While being in hospital, I decided I want a career change. Rather than being a carer, I've gone into acting and modelling, and there's so much more in life than being depressed. So yeah, that's what I did during lockdown, and also learnt to belly dance. I absolutely love the gym. I go every day. I've wrote this, which you'll find on my Instagram. Here it goes. Back in 2005, when I was just a young one, I had a seizure. I was rushed to hospital and had a test. I was diagnosed with epilepsy. I didn't believe her. I had many troubles in my life growing up. Myself, typical teenage problems. Life got hard. I carried on, got support where I needed. Lived my life, had a boy at 21. Now he's 8, growing up. Football's his passion. Where has time gone? He's watched me have my seizures, but my arms on the hair straighteners, cracked my head on the bedside table. I was unconscious. I was unstable. 2018, my epilepsy was controlled through medication, but I was diagnosed with intracranial hypertension. Fluid was blocked on my brain, was told to lose weight, lost 5 stone for the ophthalmology to tell me it had gone. How was that just fate? At least I got rid of the horrible disease. Life was on the upside. Back in 2019, my mental health went down the hill. Life was struggling really bad. There wasn't a second I had no tears. Every day was bleeding sad. 6 months later, I turned my life around and took a trip to the gym. I keep my body nice and trim. And then 2020 wasn't my year. Ambulances at my house. I wasn't well. I was diagnosed with pneumonia. I couldn't walk. Every day was an effort to breathe or even talk. My head was hurting. I had a numb face. It felt like I had a fill-in. But I was ignored. After getting prodded and medicated, I felt like a voodoo doll. The doctors told me after 2 weeks it's time to go home. I spoke up and said not a chance. They soon changed their mind and sent me to the ophthalmology where they laid bad news. A doctor was brought in and I was told bad news. I was on the verge of going blind, intracranial hypertension, Chiari malformation and papilledema. I could never see again was all what was on my mind. On the 9th of September, I was rushed to Hull Royal, where I awaited surgery. Doctors were surrounding me, mixed emotions slipping through my mind, but everybody in there was so kind. From mini procedures to big procedures, pressure bolts, decompressions and shunts, fitted, bandaged up round the head. I just wanted to stay positive, that's all I ever said. Intensive care for 1 week. I couldn't eat, couldn't walk or couldn't talk, but I had to fight. This girl's fitter, 8 stone slimmer, and a career change, acting, modelling, full of confidence. Life too short. Live life and be free. Positivity is key. Full of confidence. That is me.
So to start off with, in the very beginning, the lockdown had quite a positive impact on mental health, to be honest, purely because of how busy I was before. I'm a uni student, and I also worked as a block rep at the student accommodation I was living in, and that involved working a lot of the social events, keeping people involved, making sure people are up to date with the information. I'm also in a band which were playing a lot of concerts before lockdown. We've obviously had a lot of concerts cancelled. It's for the best with safety, but it's upsetting seeing the different lineups and bands that we were planned to play with just cancelled, not even postponed. So it seems like a lot of opportunities are being missed there. I also run a clothing brand as well. And before lockdown, I was keeping that as busy as possible, trying to make it grow, you know, keeping active on social media, designing new products, actually going to the post office. And the first lockdown sort of stopped me from doing all of those things. You know, concerts were cancelled, uni transitioned to online, the social events at my accommodation were cancelled, and going to the post office wasn't really essential. So it was something that I just sort of stopped doing. And I had to put my business sort of on the sort of back seat for a bit. But the time that it gave me, the sort of time to myself, it really benefited me. Even though I love doing all these things, they were genuinely tiring me out, and that lockdown forced me to have a break that I probably never would have had otherwise. We were allowed a certain amount of exercise each day, so I spent that time exploring the local woodlands around my accommodation, and because of that I saw a lot of things that I'd never seen before, and I probably never would have seen before if it wasn't for the time that I had. So even though it was a negative situation, I'll be grateful for the positives that it brought me. But from then, things started to go downhill a lot, to be honest. Without going into too much detail, there was a COVID-related death in my family, and being in my student accommodation at the time, there wasn't really anything I could do to distract myself from that, apart from the things I already was doing, things that I were doing. And that was just listening to music, writing music, playing video games, and going for these walks. But my flatmates helped me a lot through that situation, and also like speaking to my girlfriend and speaking to my family on video calls and talking to them online. But my flatmates being there for me and me being there for my flatmates in the sort of difficulties they've been going through, that's the sort of main thing that's kept me going through it all, really. And me and my flatmates then moved into a private student house July of 2020, and even though that's been great that we stuck together as a unit, that's brought in another problem, which meant I wasn't able to go home and see my family over summer. And then due to the local COVID restrictions, it meant I wasn't actually able to sort of go within 2 meters of my family from March when the first lockdown came in until December when I got to go home for Christmas. And that's obviously been the hardest part for me, not seeing my family, not seeing my girlfriend, not seeing my friends, and that's something that I feel like a lot of people relate to. But just keeping talking online is sort of all we can do, really. Another thing that's affected me a lot is these concerts being cancelled, and even though not everyone relates to it, music the same way I do, music helps me a lot. Being at concerts, playing concerts, the energy that I put out in those concerts, it helps me. People sing about the stresses that they're going through, and people in the crowd relate to those stresses and sing along with it. And for people properly into the music, it helps people. Like, we've all got different things that help us, whether that's games, movies, art, crafts. Music's my thing, and that's something that's sort of been taken away from me, really. I've still been able to write music, and my band have put out a single through lockdown, but nothing's come close to the sort of feeling that concerts give me. But that's just something to look forward to for the future again, really. It's obviously for the best with safety that they've all been cancelled. But just the things that we normally take for granted, going, seeing our friends, family, my girlfriend, they've all just things that have been taken away from us. And I don't think I've got it worse than anyone, obviously not. But it's something that I've struggled with. But being there for my flatmates, speaking to family and friends online, my girlfriend, keeping in touch with everyone, that's sort of how I've got through it all and how I'm still getting through it all, really. But yeah, thank you for listening to a bit of my story. I've been Braden.
Yes, hello, it's great to see you face to face, so screen to screen. Not the best, but what can we do? All these months that it has been. As for me, I'm alright. You know how things are these days. COVID gives us all a fright, regardless what they say. Oh, you've got to go elsewhere? Well, it's been nice to see you all. And remember, do stay safe out there. Okay, yeah, thanks. Bye. End the call. I could smile for anyone. In fact, I think I've become quite good. Because the truth I'm much less proud of, and it's deadly misunderstood. My gut is twisted in distress, and my eyes, they burn and sting. And in baggy clothes I'm always dressed to conceal the wreck within. To hide the caving of my chest and this skin that hangs off of bone. And all this flesh that was my breast is now nearly all but gone. My trunk is full of knife-like steel, and it leaves me twisted and exhausted. And sometimes all I can do is sleep and curse the fates that caused this. And the advice that I am given to me just seems so hollow. And all the days that I'm bedridden and left to fester in my sorrow. But yes, of course I'm quite alright. Just cold, hence all the layers. And I don't quite feel so hungry tonight, so I'll just get a small snack later. Therapy calls bring me no resolve to tell me again I must be brave against this mess which eats me whole, and frankly, I'm afraid. I'm full of dreams and plans and dates and days that I want to live to see. 'Cause when locked in such a state, I have nothing but fantasy.
Hello, I'm COVID. I'm one that messed up 2020. Hi, I'm Ash. 2020 was ruined for me due to having to rehome some of my animals that I've had for years due to losing my job due to COVID. Furthermore, on the good side, I actually took up photography and regained my passion for photography and filmmaking, and am now working on my first feature film.
Yeah, I just hope everyone's well, staying strong. Praise for you, praying for you. Hope you surely are praying for me as well. And yeah, this is the second lockdown since last year. Last year I had a bit of a crisis of lockdown. Lost my mind a bit. Mental health, had a psychosis. Now I'm on medication. I'm a lot better. I hope this inspires a lot of people that you can stay sane and you can stay put, as I say, stay locked in. Just keep yourself creative or keep yourself doing what you enjoy. Like keep staying grateful for your family and your friends and what you have, because that's what it's taught me. I have a bit of gym weights here. Work out from home. And yeah, I've just been at home chilling and yeah, staying sane this year for sure. Thank God for the medication. It's really working. And yeah, I'm like myself now again. Yeah. Thank you. It's a sort of reflection. Thank you.
This is coronavirus come down from the 21st century. This is history. Thought it wasn't meant for me. The pangolin's revenge, the lab's SOP mistake. I was visited by a hoverfly today. Not much to say. Hello, good day. As I drank my tea, had rested upon my knee, wine awake. Garden games, April sun, new life asleep. This is silent tarmac. The Queen has flown, her irised castles keep. I'm not living on top of time. Wallpaper mindful in. I'm calling whilst I'm trying. Panic doggy paddle dying. Manic buying PPE. You're killing thee. Still lying in sheets in debt. Fever sweat. Not testing. Planet resting. Perhaps the best thing. It never crossed my mind I'd be here with only I have the cat. Charlie cat, she's on a war footing, pouch-wide. She's resisting, feeding alive upon my knee, pouring, purring, insisting, blisting. This is coronavirus come down. My beautiful oiled jailer, the dealer waits, seldom locked golden garden gates. I was visited by a butterfly today. A broken wing, the blackbird sings, hold my intravenous hand, can't understand bleak, breathless, lonely, tangled fates. You are my uncarkid soldiered girl and boy, running naked through trench fields to pain, the rise and fall, the end. You have held my kith and kin through cool April tears, not rain. You're so good at the big things today, task to task. I'm counting tea bags, I've made a mask. Dodge the bullets, exploding lands. Is it you I'm heading to, my thought of Hal gasping, grasping, a stranger stands. Don't let go, help me breathe. stay a while. I was visited by a dragonfly today. It rested briefly, sun-kissed, blessed me, then took its leave. Isolate me in your arms, your heat, incubate, intubate, time to run, time to wait, to hesitate. This is coronavirus. Come down, exhale and stop. All is still. I'm 3, I'm 12, I'm running up life's cosmic uplit hill. Birthday cakes and teenage wide awakes, midnight, midlife, lovers walk, skin lips, laughs, blackboard chalks, tiny, tiny snips of life pass by. If I could breathe, I'd cry. Inhale. He's past the worst, the bubbles burst. This is coronavirus come down from the 21st century. This is history. Thought it wasn't meant for me.
Wow. This is my story. And this is my voice being heard. So first of all, let me start off by turning on the TV. Oh look, there's more news on the TV. This is just a few things that have affected me through this COVID. 3 vital things in my life that I need around me to help me, to support me. So, I'm going to tell you a little story about how I've coped. And I appreciate being given this opportunity to speak my mind freely without being judged. So here goes. Hi, my name's Connor. I'm 22 and a single dad. I don't have full custody of my child, but that doesn't stop me from seeing him. I'm very grateful in that sense. But what has stopped, and what I struggle to see, is my family that you saw quite clearly on the TV screen. My friends. I love my friends. I hate not seeing them. But one of the main things I'm struggling with right now, because I've not seen her for so long, is my girlfriend. Now, I know a lot of people that are struggling, not seeing them 3 people, but truth be told, I don't even know where to start. This is hard. I hate not seeing her. I hate not seeing my friends, my family. Yes, I get it. Yes, I respect people's views on people want to stay safe. You know, for an example, for me, I've got a hidden disability. Now, in time, I may come out and I may mention about that, but right now I don't feel like it's appropriate. You know, there's so much judging going on with people with disabilities and why people don't wear a mask. Personally, it's your opinion, it's your decision. No one should judge someone for not wearing a mask, or a visor for that matter. It's your decision. If you choose to wear a lanyard, or you choose not to wear a mask, that is your decision. You have that right. Everyone deserves equal rights. So, I know I'm going a bit off topic, but let me just show you a couple of things. And these may hit some nerves, and they may, you know, some of you may relate to this sort of stuff. And if you do, I just want you to know that everyone's there for you. You're not on your own. Yes, okay, you can't see them people that I'd mentioned on that TV screen, but everyone's there. Even a stranger could support you. And I found that out the hard way when I was going through depression. When I battled and I thought a stranger couldn't help me. And through time I gave up. And then through time I also persevered. And eventually I'd done it. And eventually it lifted a massive weight off my shoulders, because it felt good to talk to someone that didn't know me, but that was there to listen to me. So when I say about depression, I've got a post-it note
with the word depression on. Now, I understand it may be backwards on your screen. I didn't really think of that. I just want to create awareness. This is what this pandemic is doing to me. It's making me suffer with my depression. It's making me more and more depressed each day. Okay, so you're not on your own. If you're struggling, get help. There's always going to be help there. Talk to a family member. I never thought I could do that. Or talk to a friend. If they're friends, they'll understand and they'll be there to help you. Same goes to your family or a loved one. That then brings me on to my next point. Anxiety. And again, yes, this may be backwards on your screen, but I didn't really think of that at the time. Anxiety is a killer these days. Not many people suffer with it. Not many people think it's true. However, being a sufferer from it myself, I know that it's there. And my anxiety tells me that this pandemic is going to last a long time. And my gut tells me differently. My gut's like, no, this will be over soon. And we'll be able to see them 3 people that I mentioned. But it's just a matter of time. I know that things are going to get better. It may take years, may take months, may take weeks, may take days. But don't suffer alone. Always talk to one another. Check in on your friends, check in on your family, check in on your loved ones. And when you can, just hold them and just tell them that everything's going to be okay, because it will be, I promise. I know that sounds like a long shot and I may be speaking complete horse shit, but I mean it. Things will get better. Things will look up. You will go back to work. You will start to feel more positive energy and you will start to feel more yourself. And me, myself personally, yes, I'm struggling. Yes, I miss seeing my friends. I miss seeing my family and I miss seeing my partner. Like many of you probably do, but that won't stop me. I'm determined that this thing will be over soon. And I'm adamant we can get through this together, just by supporting each other. Because if not, there's 3 things that come out of this, and this is what I've thought lately. Maybe not over the last couple of days, because I've been feeling a bit better about myself. But over this whole pandemic, you know, both waves, going into lockdown, coming out of lockdown, being able to do this, being able to see people, and then going back to the start. These 3 things. And again, yes, I'm going to mention they are probably backwards, so I'll read them to you. 1, thoughts of harm. Yes, I have thought of harming myself, because personally, it's the only pain relief I can have. And it's that stress. It releases that stress. I can't go to the gym. I can't work out because of this pandemic. So yes, thoughts of harm was something that I thought it may help. It may release pressure. It may release some energy that I needed to burn, that I would do in the gym. Whether that be lifting weights, whether that be doing cardio, whether that just being there, just seeing people and having a conversation helps. The second one, suicidal thoughts. Now, like I say, I've suffered with depression a long time. I've been there. I've tried taking my own life. I'm not ashamed to admit that. But there's a boundary. And I always think, what would my friends think? What would my family think? What would my son think? I could not do that to him. I could not do that to anyone. So think. Just for a minute, even if it's 2 minutes a day, just think, is your life really worth killing yourself? Because it isn't. I promise you now, things will get better. And that kind of brings me on to my last thought. Being in this lockdown has made me feel more trapped than ever. Trapped in my head, for one, with more thoughts going through my head constantly. It's not easy. It won't be easy. But there is a way out of this. And just by talking to people, even if it's for 5 minutes on the phone, even if it's just a short text, always check in on people. because you don't know what people are going through. Now, like I say, I can't speak for a lot of you, and I can't speak for all of you, but this is my voice being heard, and I appreciate you giving me the opportunity to do this and speak freely. And I'm only a message away, people, so if anyone needs to talk, if anyone wants to reach out, then find me on Facebook or follow me on Instagram, Connor_Entertainer2021. Reach out to me. I've got so many dreams I want to do and perform in, and things that I want to achieve. And I'm sure many of you do, and you will do it, you will achieve, and you will succeed. And most importantly, keep that head up. Don't let the chin go down, just raise it up a little. Be proud of yourself. Yeah? You've got this. Everyone's got this. You're not on your own. So that kind of brings me to my last point before I get off. Stay safe and support one another. That's all I ask. You support one another. It takes 2 minutes to send a message to check someone's okay. It takes 3 minutes to make a quick phone call just to check in on your loved ones, your family, your friends, your partners. Don't give up. You've got this. You should be proud of yourself. You've got this far now, don't give up now. And just one last point, I always like to remind myself, and it's a plaque I have on my wall. So, bear with me, and it may be a bit cringy, but this is something I live up to, and this is something I look at every morning to remind myself. And this is it, okay? This is a plaque that saved my life. It says, never ask permission to be yourself, because why should you? We all deserve equality. We all deserve the same respect. We all deserve to be treated the same. Change my mind? Okay, try. But I know what's right for me, and I know what I'll try and do will be right for others. Thanks for listening, guys. God bless you all. Stay safe. And like I say, support one another. Thanks for listening. Bye-bye.